Hello. Hello. Okay, so you can restart the computer. Because
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. I'd like to call the March 5th, 2020 meeting of the Utility Advisory Commission to order. Please join me to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we have a presentation by the Ecologics Company.
Good evening, Commissioners. Roughly 3 years ago, the Utility Advisory Commission asked me if the city or the department had a LED rebate program. So at that time, I said, no, we don't have anything. But they were interested about some kind of program, mainly residential. So back last month, I received a phone call from Brian Ashworth. He's with Ecologics, and he was, we do not. But I thought it might be to do a presentation so you can learn about the benefits of using LED, and maybe we can apply it as to the, maybe look at a LED rebate program for the homes. So I told Brian to come in and do a brief presentation, see if we can learn something from that and maybe take into consideration some recommendations and maybe something that we may like to look in the future. Richard Henderson will be doing the presentation. He's with Ecologics, and he'll give us a, he'll talk about LEDs and benefits and cost savings.
Good evening. My name is Richard Henderson. I am with a company by the name of Ecologics. We are headquartered in Des Moines, Iowa. We have offices in Des Moines, Kansas City, and Omaha. So we are a small regional company, I guess would be the best way to describe it. I've been involved in LED for about 14 years now. So I always joke that when I started doing this, people couldn't spell LED. We had to go out and actually explain what solid state lighting was before we could even teach them about the benefits of it. So I understand that we're a very brief part of this meeting here tonight, so I'll go through this very quickly, but we started basically on one decision. Our company did a decision to do things a smarter way, because whether you are interested in going green and saving the planet, saving money, any of the above, there are certain technologies, green technologies, that will actually pay for themselves. Not all do. The tagline for our company is smart efficiency. We can do everything from LED lighting to building control systems to solar energy systems to wind production, but not all of them are the smartest or best way to go about doing something. There are four main divisions to our company: Eco Home, Eco Business, Eco Fire, and Light the Way is a nonprofit that we started. But you asked about LED, which is we do in both the commercial and the residential side. Just to give you some brief information about the history of LED, we're seeing huge growth right now. About 5 years ago is when the LED market really started to explode. We've seen a lot of people come into it very recently because they've seen that market explode. But we've got hard numbers from 2017. In 2017, only 22% of new construction in the U.S. had LED installed in it. We're just getting the numbers out of 2018. That's risen to 26%. Which means that in 2018, 74% of the new construction put up primarily commercial, because not a lot of residential still has LED at all in it. So 74% of new construction still was put up with what we call legacy technologies, fluorescent, incandescent style lighting. We have, these are just some case studies from some customers. A little bit about our company. We do project financing up to $10 million. Even though we're what we consider a small regional company, we've done projects nationwide. Here's where we get into some of the social responsibility of LED. In just switching to LED, we've reduced the CO2 going into the environment by a little over 12,000 tons annually. That equals about 13.6 million miles driven by the average family car. Looking at LED products, our job is really to educate people. Even though we're an energy efficiency company, we tell all of our field staff that our real job is education. We want to go out there and make sure people understand this product. Not all LED is created equal. LED diodes are actually kind of grown. They're not manufactured. They're layers of silica and phosphor sprayed over layer after layer. So on this board that they're produced on, the ones right here may be a really high quality, very high efficiency, highly stable in their color output. The ones over here aren't quite as good. So depending on what type of diode you buy, your LED light's going to be either more or less efficient. It's going to be more or less color stable. It's going to last longer. It's not going to last quite as long. So we have engineers on staff, and what we do is we actually talk to these companies. I don't care if it's Philips, GE, Sylvania, or some small company that we've never heard of. We actually tear apart the products and see how they build them, because we want to put something out there that's actually going to last for the customer. One of our biggest competitors are, and there's nothing wrong with big box stores, but when you're putting LED into a big box store, you're going mass market. In that mass market, they need to keep things at a certain price point, and to do that, they may buy a chip that's not quite where it should be, all the way down to the thermal paste that holds the diode onto the circuit board in that LED lamp. So our job is to make sure that all of that is done correctly. We go through everything from conception, design, manufacturing in our company, and then we can do things, you see these before and afters here. All of this is done on the commercial side with an average savings of about 68 to 70% in electrical usage on lighting. On the residential side, it's about 80%. We can go from a 100-watt incandescent light bulb down to a 15-watt LED light bulb and produce actually more light, cleaner light. The human eye interacts better with LED than it does, say, with fluorescent lighting. I'll flip through a lot of this here quickly. If we're talking about the commercial side of the business, people making the decision to move forward with LED, we actually reduce lighting expenses, we reduce maintenance costs. As I said, it increases light quality, increases light output, employee productivity, customer satisfaction. Just a few of the customers that we've dealt with here, even though we are a smaller company, we work with everything from small mom and pops to, you can see Walmart on there, the state of Iowa, where we're headquartered in Iowa. On the home side of the business, people want their homes to be both comfortable and hopefully efficient. So on our home side of the business, we do everything from insulation, ventilation, air seal, and of course LED. And we can just run through some of the things quickly, talking about insulation. solar power, power conditioners to get rid of dirty power in homes. If any of you remember anyone ever turning on like a blender in your kitchen and you see kind of the wavy fuzzy lines on the television, that's dirty power, and we can do things with helping to clean that up. Talking about air leaks, we have a fire safety division. We are in so many homes that we also talk to people about fire safety. But the question was put forth about incentives or rebates. We work with utilities all over the country. And just as I said earlier, our goal is to educate the consumer, whether it's residential or commercial, on the benefits of LED and energy efficiency. We also want to put ourselves out here for you. If you do have questions about rebates, incentives, what other utilities are doing that we've seen move the needle, as it were, for consumers to make that jump into LED technologies. We've seen prescriptive rebates where people or utilities would give a rebate of, say, you go out and you buy this lamp and you get a $2 rebate on that lamp from the local utility. We've also seen it based on wattage reduction or on kilowatt hour reduction. So we can provide examples to the board if it's something that you're looking for on what we've seen that works in other utilities, some ranges as far as what those numbers are, and what we've seen, as I said, moving the needle from when they didn't offer rebates to when they did, or when they cut those rebates, what we saw as far as the actual purchasing of LED technology. If there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer anything.
So this would be consumer rebates, primarily what you're talking about.
That's what we were asked about, was consumer residential rebates to help incentivize the consumer to make the jump to LED technology.
And these have been successful? That's what you're saying, is there a good return?
Correct. On the average, and obviously this varies according to utility, but on the average, we see LED purchases increase somewhere in the area 60 to 62% with incentive than without. So it's a fairly significant increase in the conversion of legacy technology to LED technology when there is an incentive for the consumer to do that.
Okay. Questions?
All right.
You did a great job, apparently.
We do appreciate the time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think he had.
If I may, I just wanted to add, and thank you, commissioners, for allowing us to present. But one thing that I like to add is one thing that we do that I think adds value to the community, especially a homeowner or a business, is part of that education is going into that business or that home and doing an energy efficiency and evaluation or assessment, if you will, that's based on the count of the fixtures, the wattage of the fixture, hours of operation, or how many hours approximately those lights are on through any given period of time, and providing that consumer with data to show this is what, if you decide to move forward, this is what your potential savings is, this is what it's costing you now. And here's the cost opportunity, an opportunity cost if you do, if you don't. So that consumers or residents aren't walking into a huge purchase or any change blindly. And that's part of that education that Richard's talking about, is really getting into those nuts and bolts, educating them. This is what it looks like now. This is what it could look like, anywhere from lighting to the insulation or solar.
So you could tell the consumer what the payback
Yes.
would be on that investment?
Yes. And even take that a step further with commercial, we could even produce internal rate of return. If there's competing projects going on in the business and they're trying to decide which project makes the most sense for our business, we use internal rate of return, RR, to help them make that decision.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right, thank you. Okay, next item is public comment. So do we have anybody have anything to say?
So is this just related to this?
No,
No, this is a new period here. For public comment, for anything you want to talk about.
Do I need to come up here?
Yeah, come up here and tell us who you are and,
So my name's Rodney Pace. I live in the trailer court behind Walmart, and I want to discuss our utility bill. So the last few years, our average, $350 every month, with the exception of either November, December, or December, January for Christmas. My wife loves the lights.
well,
So our average has been $350 for the last few years. Last month, we got a bill for over $500. This month, we just got a bill for over $600. We're all electric, and we were told after like 2 years of being not informed of the utility discount for being all electric, we are now being told that the discount is being dropped. So when my wife called up here yesterday, she was informed that they based it off of the last 2 months. Okay, so what you're telling me is with the discount, my bill's $350. Without the discount, my bill is doubled. And I'm trying to figure out how we can base it the last 2 months and come up with $600.
okay. I don't know anything about the specifics of your bill, but have you talked to the utility desk?
My wife did.
Yeah, okay.
can,
They-
are we, so, is the bill increase totally because of a discount? Because we also raised rates. So that's the part, I'm trying to understand. Rates were raised by council last summer, I believe it was approved.
January 2019.
Okay, so last year. So this would be the first couple of months under the new
Rate
rate
schedule.
structure. So is it a combination of both, or is,
During the rate study, we looked at all the different rate structures. We had over, I think, 9 or 10 rate structures. And it included a residential all-electric. The residential all-electric had a lower rate between November, December, January, February, March, and April. The rate was about 4.3 cents. So the rate study recommended to do away with that rate. The reason for that is that rate came about a few years ago in order to the city able to meet a take or pay that we used to get from KCP&L. Based on the current PPAs we have, that's no longer the case. So during the rate study, it was identified that that particular rate structure was not needed. So we did away with it. Last Monday, we had another customer that came and had the same concern, that their electric bill went up. Although that was advertised in last year and through a city newsletter, apparently not everybody was informed. So based on the different concerns from customers, City Council is having a special meeting on Monday to discuss this issue and a way of fixing or providing some kind of payment plan so you won't be impacted with such a big increase.
Okay, so just out of curiosity, what kind of percentage was the discount for being all electric?
There was on all electric was none. The 2% that was mentioned was for the residential, the standard residential. So residential used to have two rates, residential and residential all electric. So that reduction is based on the residential.
The residential all electric,
No, no.
just the residential?
They combine that just to one, which
Yes.
the residential is a higher rate than what you were
Then the all
paying
electric.
on the all electric.
Well, there was a break-even point, though.
There's a break-even point, but
But individuals, it's not.
so if you use right now, and we're still working on the numbers, but if you're below 800 kilowatt hours a month, you will get a credit from the city. If you go above certain amount of kilowatts, then you will be paying more than before.
So let me ask something, Gonson, and I don't know, maybe you all were here when that rate study was done.
no.
So I understand that we simplified into one rate structure for residential.
Residential, yes, ma'am.
And because we're not getting that take or pay from KCP&L anymore, so we weren't getting a benefit, but was it hurting anything for us to have the two rate structures? I mean,
Well, the result of the rate study, Kim said that basically we've been subsidizing the all electric for many years. Because they were not, if you look at, when you break down your different expenses, the all electric one was not paying enough for the usage they were getting, we were providing. So the recommendation was to do away with that structure because it was not actually contributing to the actual expense.
So the people now who had all electric, or the residential now, are the ones that have the increase. Is that correct?
Right now, if you were all electric, now you're on the standard electric.
Oh, so it's the all electric customers whose their bill
Their
went
bill
up.
went up.
Yeah.
But mainly, and again, this will be presented on Monday, is mainly during the winter months. On the summer, they should get a break. So if you look overall, like I mentioned, if you look at the entire year, some people will get some money back. Somebody will break even. And there's a percentage that will pay more than before.
But was there a push by the city to go all electric that you would get?
yeah, that's the way
Cheaper
I
rates.
understood
It was presented, and at that point, there were no comments or objections. So now they're gonna revisit that on Monday. If they're gonna be a special session.
Okay, so I'm Vicki Pace, and I'm fine with paying extra for November, December, because that's my big Christmas display, and that's my big holiday. But here we are into March, we ought to be back down $350, and my bill's still going up, like a lot. $609 is the one I just got in the mail. So when I came up here and I talked to the ladies, they keep referring back to when we did have excessive usage, which was November, December, not January, February, because we put everything up January 2nd.
Yeah, but the rate that you had before was 4.3 cents between November and April. That rate went away, so right now it's close to 10 cents. So that's why you have a
So it doubled our,
less than double, but almost 60% increase. So we heard your concerns, and we'll be looking at it on Monday.
yeah, because we can't afford to pay double
And we understand that.
every
so
month.
We're trying to find a solution to this problem.
You guys are not the only ones.
Yeah.
We've all received some emails very similar to this, so that's why I think council's gonna relook at it on Monday.
And is it open to
Yep.
citizens?
Yep,
Yes.
it is.
At what time?
7?
It will be usually at 7.
And is there any talk about justifying the last 2 months that just went everywhere?
Well, the justifying is that the rate changed as of January 1st.
Okay, so I'm just gonna ask this. Would you agree, you said you had residential, and then you had residential all electric.
Yes, sir.
So the all electric is cheaper than the residential.
Well,
No.
Is that what you said?
It used to be.
The old electric used to
Okay, it
be
used to
during
be.
the winter months.
Okay,
Used to be.
okay, so would you agree that that's like 5% discount from those two?
I think it's.
I'm just curious of
If
what
you- if
percentage
you're-
of that.
If you were a regular residential rate compared to the all electric, there's about 6 cents difference.
Okay, I don't know.
6 cents,
Per
Difference
kilowatt?
between a regular residential and an all electric.
so we're
Yeah.
getting about 10 cents now?
The 10 cents, that's the standard residential 10 cents. So the gap was about 6 cents between the all electric during the winter and the regular electric.
Okay, so let's-
residential.
Let's just say that, I don't know math, but let's just say that's 5% difference, okay?
It's a little more than 5% difference.
Okay, so if you take 5%, add that back to my bill, you've almost doubled the price for my electric.
Yep. That's exactly what's happened. I mean, I'm not saying it's right, but you went from paying 4.3 cents to
Almost a dime.
almost 10, yeah, so your rate has increased 6 cents per kilowatt of usage.
Is there a probability that there will be a rebate or a refund on the last couple
All
of
those
months?
possibilities will be presented on Monday.
It's be up to the city
Yeah,
council.
and when you said 800 kilowatts, did you say 800 usage?
If you're about 800 kilowatt hours,
Would have
Per month.
you will
would
get
have
it
break
will be in
or
your
refund?
favor.
But
Anything,
that's pretty low, isn't it? I mean, like I
The
live in a small
average-
place and mine was like 1,500 for the month.
so what I was telling Commissioner Williams, that we'll try to determine what's that break even. That's what I'm working on. To see how many customers are affected.
Yeah. That's good.
So I would say Monday, come up here Monday, is
We'll
gonna
be
be your
here.
best bet.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, tell us who you are, and
Yes.
what you need.
I'm Jeannie Blue, and I live here in Gardner on Ingalls Street. I haven't been here very long, only since, hello Barbara, only since November of 2018, and had some of the same concerns as far as the utility, the electric bill. Surprised that it went up as much as it did. I fortunately wasn't quite as high as the couple before me, but our bill went up from January to February. January was $251, and then February it was $339. So I realize in comparison to some other folks, that's
Is-
not as high, but the percentage increase is.
Is that the total water and
that was-
everything?
yes,
or
that was
just the
total.
electric?
Just electric went from 175 to 251 from one month to the next.
And you're not all electric, right?
We are
You
all
are all
electric.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And just my concern would be a couple of things is that, again, being new to the neighborhood or in Gardner, there wasn't any kind of a notification ahead of time to expect an increase like that. Was really surprised, and when I got to talking to neighbors, it's like, okay, because the discount went away, and then there was an increase. So there wasn't much, if any, unless I missed it in the billing, that there was notification ahead of time to expect that increase. Part of my concern as well is just living in a neighborhood with a lot of young families, small children. Their increases were quite a bit more. Their houses might be a little bit larger, but usually with kids in and out of the home, you know, there's more usage of electricity and water and whatnot, but some of their bills increased significantly. Some of them up to $200 more from one month to the next. And being a growing community like Gardner is, that's something that people take into consideration when they move to different communities or to a new community. Look at the cost of heating and cooling a home. And it's something that might incentivize or disincentivize someone to moving into the community. So I think it's important to look at the issue, and it sounds like you guys are, that there will be a meeting on Monday to discuss that, but just as a concerned citizen, you know, that it is something that I think we should look at as community members and you as leaders to what can we do to maybe remedy the situation or at least make it a little bit better for those of us in the community who are all electric, because at this point we don't have opportunity to convert to gas or natural gas because the infrastructure is not there. And especially in the newer neighborhoods, my understanding is that there isn't gas utilities. It's all electric or nothing, so.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, we have heard loudly your concerns, and unfortunately, we're not rate-making people, but
No.
they will be meeting Monday to address this, and whether or not it's satisfactory to the consumer,
Right.
I don't know, but it certainly is not being ignored.
Right,
So-
and I appreciate the forum to allow us to you know, to visit with you and share our concerns
We
as well.
understand your concern. and-
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Sure, thank you for
Thank
coming.
you.
Any other public comments? Next, we'll move to the consent agenda. And approve the February 6th meeting notes.
We had, in that meeting, corrected one typo, and then that's still in the public versus private. Yeah. In item 2, it's in the last paragraph there.
I will get that corrected.
Okay.
And I'm sorry about that.
Not a problem.
I'm sorry, I didn't keep up with it.
So in the
Under new business?
so the notes from last time, new business, item 2,
Oh, okay, I'm on the wrong page. Okay, item 2, I got you.
with the, for the INI, we were funding the public, and there's one part where it mentions private, and it's just in the second
Oh,
last
sure.
paragraph. Or last paragraph, rather.
Good catch, I missed that. Okay, did you get that, Aaron? Okay. Any other items? Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Augustine, a second by Commissioner Harrison. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed.
All right.
Okay, there's no, is there any old business?
Think so.
Okay, let's move to the new business. Consider a recommendation to the city council to approve the sale of capacity to Dogwood Energy Facility.
Okay, as you may remember, we bought participation on Dogwood Energy in 2018. So we have 20 megawatts ownership in that combined cycle power plant. So we're getting 20 megawatts as of April 2018. We've been getting energy from them. So they have they're oversold their capacity needs to, I think, West Star Evergy. So they're asking KMEA, which we are members, if we can sell them 50 megawatts of capacity. So they have reached KMEA, and we have enough capacity during the off-summer months that we can sell those 10 megawatts back to Dogwood. So they pay about 50 cents per kilowatt month, so that's about $5,000 a month that we'll be getting from them. So it will be a 4-month contract, so we're talking about $25,000. Now the actual number is gonna be like 9.7 megawatts, not 10. That's the actual true number. So we did this in 2019. We sold them also capacity, and we received some additional revenues. So since we are not, we have additional capacity to sell, is my recommendation to go ahead and sell the additional 9.7 megawatts to Dogwood for 5 months, between November 2020 and March through May 2021.
How much excess capacity do we have?
We have 54 megawatts of capacity.
Total?
Yes, sir. So our peak demand is about 40 megawatts during the summer. So you have a peak demand of, let's say, 42, and we have actually 54. There's about 10 megawatts right there, excess capacity that we don't use. And these are during the off-peak season, so even our peak demand will be even less than that, close to maybe 30 megawatts. So now you have a delta of about 24 megawatts capacity that we don't use.
So how do you create excess capacity? How does that?
From Dogwood, we buy 20 megawatts from them. From GRDA, we get 9, so that's 29. From the Hydro WAPA, we get less than 1 megawatt, so let's say 1 megawatt. So now you have 30 megawatts capacity. Then we have 2 gas turbines that we get about 20, let's say 28 megawatts.
So those are standby, right?
Yes, sir. So right now you're talking about 28, 58 megawatts of capacity.
So if we sell this, is there any way any of this money can go back to the consumers? I mean, our residents, our Gardner residents?
Keeps expenses down, and long-term, the consumers benefit because that's who owns the company, is the consumers.
That's a question that the city council will have to take that decision.
I mean, is that a possibility? Could that?
Everything is possible.
Well, if you spread the $25,000 over all the taxpayers that paid for or the ratepayers, I should say, the people that are hooked up.
But then the
to us,
problem-
it would really kind of, I mean, it'd be a nice windfall for 1 month. It wouldn't solve anybody's problem.
The problem is how you redistribute that 25,000 among the consumers by kilowatt usage, by size of the home, by the history.
And 25,000's not that much, you know.
Well, that's over a 4-month period. So,
Well, no, 25,000 is a total, 5,000 per month, so
Yeah, so
25,000
25.
over
right,
4,
that's
yeah.
what I say, that's
yeah.
over a 4-month period, so 5,000 a month spread amongst the ratepayers would be okay, but it wouldn't solve a problem. I mean, it's not gonna be hundreds of dollars or anything, of course.
So we have close to 9,000 electric customers.
How many?
9,000.
Okay.
So 25, you're talking about
50 cents?
$2.50.
Over 5 months,
No, that'll be
In
total.
yeah.
So it's not that significant, really. Any other questions?
Well, we did it before, and I see no downside to it. Can I have a motion to,
I move we consider a recommendation to city council. I move that we approve a recommendation to city council to approve a capacity transaction for the sale of 10 megawatts worth of capacity to the Dogwood Energy Facility.
Can that be 9.7?
9.7 megawatts.
I'll second.
Worth.
second by Commissioner Coleman? All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Then, on to project updates, I guess.
Now we're going electric. Early last year, the UAC and the City Council approved the purchase of 6 automated distribution switches. The idea of installing these switches is that we can connect different circuits. So let's say one circuit goes down, we can close remotely the switch and restore power to that section of town. So we identified that we needed 6 automated switches to have a redundancy and prevent, or not prevent, but maybe restore power a lot sooner. So we're in the process of installing the 6 switches right now. Then we will try to connect the switches to the smart grid communication network, so we can operate the switches remotely from our SCADA system. So that's the next phase. So we'll be able to do it remotely, restore circuits without having alignment going and doing manually. That has some kind of hazard, especially during icy or ice storms. They have to go there and manually operate the switches. So they will eliminate the need for doing it manually and also provide additional protection to our linemen.
And these can pick up a outage, I mean, a dead section, they have the
We'll be able to
capacity
detect that this, it will be, you can do it automatic or you can operate it manually. So we will start with the manual operation. But you can set it up so it will automatically switch to the dead circuit.
Nice.
How long will it take to install the 6?
I think it's taking about maybe 3-4 days to do it
Per switch.
per switch.
Do we have all the switches
We bought all 6 last year. Yes, sir.
and they're on site?
They're on site. So it's a matter of installing them right now. And then the next phase will be to connect it to the SCADA system.
Okay.
Then early this year, it was approved the private I&I. So we have the, as of last week, we went out and sent letters to the different homeowners. So as of last week, we received 14 phone calls that were interested about being part of the private I&I program. We had 8 phone calls going out. We made 20 appointments to actually inspect the homes and see any deficiencies in their connections. We placed 45 door knocks on homes. We have completed from the 27 evaluations so far. There were 2 that refused for us to enter their home or be part of the program. So we have appointments, 52 completed. We only had 1 defect confirmed so far. And we had 2 defects that were detected on the downspouts in a home. So we have about 25 homes, so this is just the beginning. Hopefully more people will be receptive of the program and they will sign up for identifying the I&I in their homes.
And all 25 have been contacted? All 125, I'm sorry.
We have mailed
Okay.
letters. So today they have responded, how many? 52.
52, okay.
So we have appointments for 52 homes out of the 125.
Okay, got it.
What section of the city did you start with?
This is between Warren and Shawnee, which is probably the oldest section of town. Heading
West of,
west and part of east of Center Street. There's some commercial buildings that also have problems.
For the ones who didn't respond, are you gonna send out a second letter?
Since this is a voluntary program, I mean, we can insist, but it's not
You
a
had a pretty good
mandatory.
response though, didn't you? I mean,
I think so far it's 52 out of the 125. This is a pretty good response.
yeah.
There's one of them, I know there's the explanation, like he didn't want anybody to enter his home. I don't know why.
You need to share it on Facebook. For a lot of people.
everything else is out there.
So that's the only issue we had so far.
So this will be available for an indefinite period of time? Or is there a cutoff period?
We would like to get it done within a set period of time. I don't know if that's until June. I don't know how many months, but it won't be forever. If there's only 2 left out of the 125, yeah, we may go back maybe before the actual program ends and see if they're still interested or not. So then we can have 100% participation.
So the 52 had appointments, but not necessarily any defects, right?
No, that means that we have appointments to go and actually inspect their homes.
Oh, that hasn't been done yet.
They have not been done
Oh,
yet.
okay. It said completed, so
Yeah. The 52 is under appointments completed. So,
yeah.
It's like verified,
Appointments,
Appointments,
yeah,
right.
appointments
Scheduled.
established,
Yeah.
yeah, scheduled, yeah.
But, yeah, the work's
Because
not
I know there's
completed.
more than 1 defect in those homes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's a pretty,
So I think that's appointments that they have actually scheduled
Okay,
a visit. But I'll get more clarification next meeting.
Okay.
And we've had no complaints about that, right? I mean, they
No.
either said no or they were okay
Well,
with
there's
it.
only two, that one that refused, and the other one was, what's the other problem here, going back?
Yeah, it just,
And one didn't respond to the door knock. So 2 out of 125, that's not bad. Well, 52 so far.
okay. Good. Any other questions?
Nope.
Hillsdale, now it looks a lot different than back in January. Right now, CAS constructors, they're in the process of building the chlorine building. They're working on the pretreatment building. They're working on the filter building. And they started the raw water work starting from the intake, and they'll put, it's close to a quarter of a mile between the intake and the water treatment plant. So they started at the intake, which belongs to the Army Corps of Engineers, and we started the actual clearing of the trees so we can have space to install the new raw water line. So that will give us redundancy in case of a failure on the existing raw water line.
So what does that mean? You cleared the trees for the water line, but
So you need to clear it so you can get the equipment to dig a trench
But-
and install the.
But what has that got to do with the protected animal? I mean, how does that? There's apparently a protected bat in the area.
The construction.
Did you have to have the Army
Uh,
Corps
per-
do it because of the protected? Is that?
I think we had to go to a different area so we will protect the bats that are inhabited in that part of the.
So that really has nothing to do with the right of way?
No, that doesn't.
Okay. I thought maybe it was shut down or something.
No,
Oh, okay.
but I think we cannot disturb certain trees where the bats are living. That's my understanding.
So we have an easement then? I mean,
We
we
have
can
an easement.
proceed with the raw water line?
Yep. So that
Any other
work
question?
is starting and hopefully will be in before the end of, by the end of summer. We still have issues with some of the landowners signing the easements agreements, but we're doing some headway now.
But you're doing what?
We're doing some headway.
You are making
The
it?
process started in October. In January, nobody had signed the agreements. So right now, we're about 6 that have agreed to sign the agreements.
Oh,
And there's 2 still
more?
undecided. Undecided.
well, that was much better than last month, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
What-
we're doing some headway.
What about the annexation? Any movement on that?
The annexation was denied by Miami County.
By who?
Miami County.
Oh, Miami, yeah, okay.
So it was, how can you say this? We were pursuing the annexation of Hillsdale to the city of Gardner based on a recommendation that the annexation could be done within 30 days. And it was basically something that the city had to do. and there was no, I guess, no say-so from Miami County. So when we filed the annexation petition, we found that that's not the case. The Miami County has to approve the annexation. And we didn't have enough reasons to deny, not to keep the annexation with Miami County. So they actually denied our petition. We didn't have enough supporting documents to say otherwise. So the annexation was denied by Miami County, but we have worked with the Codes Department to expedite the construction or building permits. So the construction is moving along, and we have not had any delays so far, since we had a understanding what needs to happen.
Okay, so,
The annexation is dead, and then
Okay.
it was denied. Now, the conditional use permit that needed to be amended and approved by the commissioners, Miami County commissioners, that was approved last week. So we have the permit to do the expansion all the way to 12 million gallons per day facility.
okay,
So in the next phase, we don't have to go to them and request a permission. We already have the permission for all future expansions. So that was good news.
Yeah.
but this project can be completed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it can be expanded 3 more times with no additional, without going to the county again.
Okay. Good, so all the issues were resolved successfully.
I think I've been in Paola like 10 times in the past 4 weeks. Nice small town. So I think that's all we have.
Thank you.
All right, is that it?
Yep.
Okay. Any other business that anyone has?
Well, I would just like to make a recommendation, and hopefully when you have the meeting, the city council meeting on Monday about the rates, that you also consider helping, if they don't get a rebate or refund on the past months, help them pay out some kind of payment plan to help them pay for those months.
I think that's one of the recommendations we'll be proposing on Monday.
It's, am I correct? My understanding is that the all-electric residential rate was not paying what the cost
They share, yeah, yes, sir.
to serve them,
Yes.
correct? So it's philosophically, I guess it's not fair to the other ratepayers you're in effect subsidizing that.
That's true.
From the customer side though, they entered into this arrangement in good faith, relying on the city's rates, which made sense at that time. The rest of the world changed, and discounting rates to pick up load is no longer in the utilities' interest.
Or the
Correct. Is that all
city's
correct?
interest, that's correct.
That's a good way to say all that.
Huh?
That was a good way to say it.
Well, I mean, in a perfect world, everybody would pay exactly the same, I guess. I mean,
But there was that incentive given to the all-electric, if you went all-electric.
yes, that's right, and that was common through utilities, and particularly in the Midwest. I don't know about the East and West Coast, but Midwestern utilities 15 years ago all had, or almost all had, all-electric rates to generate load in the winter because we were summer peaking utilities, so you had the capacity and not much load in the winter. So to even out that load and to generate income in the winter, you tried to get security lights, all electric, any kind of heat. So,
Well,
but that's not the way it is now.
yeah. And I think, one of the things, and I just wanna make sure I'm clear on this, Gon, so everybody received an increase in January, right?
In January, residential got a 2%
Okay.
reduction.
So not only did
Reduction.
these people, reduction?
Yeah, reduction.
Residential in general, they got a 2% reduction.
Okay.
This is, the total
Across the
rate
board,
went down
yeah, okay.
2%.
So
Okay.
that 2%, the reduction was compensated by increasing 2% the
On
other
their other-
customers,
Okay, I got it.
including the all electric.
Yep, okay, got it.
So, I mean, well, it's kind of frustrating because the minimum bill has crept up and people that can't pay those bills,
$600 a month is,
Well, it wasn't creeping, it was a whopping change for most people.
But, that's looking at only the winter months. If you go to the summer, they should be paying less during the summer. Because the summer rate for the all electric was higher than the standard residential.
and that's what I think we need to fix, because, and I understand what you're saying, Gons, and I think for some people that's fine, but if I'm living paycheck to paycheck, which, that summer months, it doesn't matter to me, because I can't pay this February bill.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
That's,
And maybe enhance that, budget billing that you have. in
There's
your-
budget billing and there's a payment plan. There's two. Budget
There
billing.
is a
and
payment plan out now?
Yep. So there's two
Maybe-
ways of paying.
Yeah, and maybe they could have the payment plan help them out even more, I don't know, it's just,
that has consistently been a concern of mine, is those people on fixed income, they really don't have a lot of choices here. I mean, it's tough on them from a macro sense. I understand, and I think we made the right decision to consolidate the rates and reduce them from a utility viewpoint, but what happens to that person that's on a fixed income that can't absorb anymore? I mean, that's the dilemma.
well, I'm glad they're having a special meeting to help fix it.
And I believe also that Gardner's utility rates, residential rates particularly, are in the lowest quartile of the comparable utilities.
That's true. That's part of the rate study. We had a graph showing that compared to other cities like Ottawa and I think Garden City, our rates are lower. Residential are lower.
So you couldn't move to Olathe and have cheaper rates.
If you go
Correct.
to Olathe, you'll be under Evergy, and the rates I know is higher.
It's what?
The rates are a lot higher. Well, let me say the rate is probably lower, but then they have additional charges that if you add additional charges that we don't have, that makes your total bill higher than ours.
Right. That's the way I understood it anyway. Yeah. Okay.
But the
So-
all electric, they're close to 12% of the total residential. So they're not the majority,
So
but they were getting the biggest
biggest discount.
discount.
notwithstanding the issue in this particular case, the all-electric rate, but the residential rate for, let's say, 1,000 kilowatts, your total bill wouldn't be any cheaper in any of the surrounding communities.
It will not be cheaper.
Okay. So,
So you just said that the population in Gardner, about 12% is all electric?
12% is all electric, like 1,334. And we have about 9,000 customers, so
Right,
it's about 12%.
okay.
Could I probably shouldn't do this, but could a program where the city would pay some amount to help people that wanted to convert to gas or some other fuel be a possibility?
What, I don't quite understand your question.
Well, I'm thinking these people that have the all-electric homes they feel like they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. They can't afford the bill, and that's the system. That they could get a new gas furnace.
The problem, like the lady mentioned, in some homes you don't have the option of getting gas because there's no gas pipeline. So it will be very hard to get gas or convert your furnace to gas because that energy source is not available.
There's no gas service? Is it?
In certain parts of town, there is no gas
Oh,
service.
then they didn't have an option.
Correct. The
So-
same with most of
had
the
that-
apartments in town are all electric. So they also, I don't think a tenant is gonna change his furnace to gas. That probably won't happen because he probably won't be there for that long to get any benefit out of it.
Okay, so I didn't realize there was parts of town that
It's
were
my
not.
understanding you cannot get gas. That's what the lady that
Oh.
was here said, that she couldn't get gas.
There's an opportunity for the utilities. Okay, any other business?
I just wanted to mention for anyone watching out on YouTube that we are short a member, and the city has an open application for anyone that wants to be on the UAC. And I had one other thing, but I can't remember what it was, so it obviously wasn't that important.
Okay, can I have a motion for adjournment?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion carried, or we should vote on this. All
Probably
in favor,
vote on
say
it.
aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good week, have a good cruise.
I'll do my best. By the way, I